He discarded and humiliated her. He said she was broken and that her body was no use to his dynasty. Angelina lost everything except her dignity and her loyal friend, Luna, a golden retriever. But fate, or perhaps a very clever golden, had other plans. Hi, thanks for being here. Enjoy another exciting story. Tell us in the comments, where are you from? Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Julian van der Hoeven's office was a fortress of glass and steel, a monument to his own coldness and the unwavering power of his lineage. The walls, meant to reflect the city light, seemed to absorb it, creating an atmosphere as frigid as the man seated behind the solid mahogany desk. Julian didn't lift his eyes from the medical document in his hands. He read it with the same indifference with which he would analyze a falling stock report, an unfavorable financial statement, or perhaps an employee's shopping list. For him, everything was a transaction. Everything was a number. Angelina sat in the leather chair opposite him, a design piece that looked more like an elegant trap than a comfortable seat. Her hands were clasped so tightly that her knuckles were white, almost translucent against her pale skin. She tried to catch his eye, a glimpse of humanity, of recognition, of anything that reminded her of the man she had fallen in love with. But Julian remained focused on the paper, as if her existence were less relevant than the printed ink. The silence in the office was so dense that Angelina felt suffocated, as if the oxygen had been sucked from the room along with her hopes. Each second was an eternity of agony, a prelude to the sentence she knew was coming. Julian turned the last page of the report. The sound of the paper sliding was the only noise that dared to break the oppressive quiet. He let out a long, almost bored sigh, a sound that to Angelina sounded like the last breath of her own heart. Julian says, "Then it's final. The marriage no longer makes sense. Angelina." Those words, uttered with the same casualness with which one cancels a magazine subscription, hit Angelina like a physical slap. She felt her stomach churn, a bitter taste rising in her throat. Reality, cold and brutal, imposed itself. Angelina stammers, her voice a barely audible whisper. "Julian, please. The doctor said it's difficult, but not impossible. There are treatments. There are other options. We can try fertilization. We can—" Julian raised his hand, a brusque and calculated gesture that cut through the air and silenced her words with the precision of a blade. There was no anger on his face, not even irritation. Only a cold impatience, a disinterest that was even more cruel than fury. Julian says, "Angelina, let's be practical. Difficult in medical vocabulary is just a polite way of saying a waste of time. And time is the only resource that my Van der Hoeven family doesn't waste." He finally looked up. There was no anger, no sadness, just a calculated emptiness. A gaze that assessed her as an object that didn't fulfill its function. For Julian, Angelina wasn't a person, but an equation that didn't add up. Julian closed the folder with a sharp click and pushed it aside, as if discarding a failed project, an investment that hadn't yielded the expected return. Julian continued, his voice monotonous. "The prenuptial agreement was clear. My parents require heirs for the continuation of the business. The heir clause isn't a suggestion, it's a contractual requirement. Without the guarantee of a direct lineage, the marriage doesn't serve its primary purpose. And, let's be frank, Angelina, you never quite fit the family mold. Your lack of interest in certain social events, your spontaneity have always been a challenge." Angelina blinked, feeling tears burning behind her eyes, but refused to let them fall. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her crumble. Angelina replies, her voice breaking, "Purpose. Julian, we've been together for 3 years. I thought the purpose was for us to be happy. I thought you loved me." Julian stood up, walking to the panoramic window overlooking Central Park. a scene of life and movement that contrasted brutally with the death of his relationship. He adjusted the gold cufflinks on his wrists, a gesture of mechanical perfection. Julian says, "I have affection for you, Angelina. You are elegant, cultured, and know how to behave at events. But love alone doesn't build dynasties. Children do. And you—" He turned, looking her up and down with a hint of disappointment that was almost an insult. "You are, unfortunately, an investment that yields no return." The word investment hit Angelina like a physical slap, more painful than any assault. She stood up, her legs trembling, her whole body protesting against the humiliation. Angelina stepped forward, her voice trembling but unwavering. "I'm not a stock, Julian. I'm the woman who took care of you when you had pneumonia last year, who spent sleepless nights by your side. I'm the woman who orchestrated your company's merger when your secretary quit, who worked tirelessly to ensure everything went smoothly, who gave up everything to be by your side for 3 years. Out of love for you. Doesn't that count for anything? I sacrificed my college education, my own career dreams, even contact with my family, all for the promise of a future that you now dismiss as a failed project." Julian returned to the table and pressed a button on the intercom, his expression unchanged, as if her words were just background noise. Julian says, "Margaret, ask the driver to prepare Miss Clark's car and cancel the dinner at Le Bernardin." He unbuttoned the button and looked back at Angelina, his eyes empty. Julian continues, "You can keep the jewelry I gave you. Consider it compensation for the time invested, but the engagement ring is a family heirloom. I need it back." Angelina stared at the diamond on her finger, the symbol of a future that never existed, of empty promises and shattered dreams. With a swift, furious movement, she ripped the ring off and threw it onto the mahogany table. The metal clinked against the wood with a hollow sound, an echo of the life she was losing. Angelina took a deep breath, regaining what little dignity she had left. "Keep your ring, Julian, and keep your dynasty. I hope it keeps you warm tonight, because you've just proven you don't have the heart to warm anyone. And by the way, my temperament and spontaneity are the only real things you've ever had in your cold, calculating life." Julian was already opening another file, without even looking at where the ring had fallen, as if the matter were closed. Julian says, "Goodbye, Angelina. Try to leave through the back. I don't want the press to see you crying in the lobby. It looks bad for the brand." Angelina spun on her heels and walked to the door, each step a battle against the urge to collapse. Before leaving, she stopped. There was something else, something he couldn't take from her. Angelina looks over her shoulder, her voice firm. "Luna, the dog, she's coming with me." For the first time, Julian seemed surprised, a slight frown breaking his mask of indifference. Julian says, "That animal, please. It sheds fur on the Persian rugs. Would you please take it away?" Angelina opened the door, a sad yet victorious smile on her lips. Angelina says she's the only thing left of that story who knows what loyalty is. She left, leaving Julian alone in his glass and steel fortress, with his reports and his empty dynasty. The door closed, but the echo of Julian's words resonated in Angelina's soul. She had sacrificed her own career, her college dreams, even contact with her family, all for the promise of a future by his side. And now that promise crumbled into cold, calculating words, leaving her with nothing but excruciating pain and the unconditional loyalty of a golden retriever. The world she knew had collapsed, and all that remained was emptiness. Weeks later, in Angelina's apartment, the shock of reality was a daily punch. A one-bedroom apartment in an old building in Queens, with noisy plumbing that seemed to groan with every flush, and a view of a dirty brick wall. Moving boxes were still piled in the corners, silent witnesses to a life in ruins. She had given up everything, job, family, and college, to accompany Julian on his business trips. He always said she was important to their image and future. Now, she had nothing but her pain and contempt, but she needed to keep going. She needed to start over. Angelina sat on the floor, surrounded by classified job advertisements, their pages crumpled and scribbled with pen circles. She wore simple, faded gym clothes, her hair pulled back in a messy bun that barely held back the unruly strands. The perfect makeup and designer dresses were a thing of the past, distant memories of a life that was no longer hers. Luna, the golden retriever, lay with her head in Angelina's lap, looking at her with large, worried brown eyes, as if she could sense the low tide of her human soul. Angelina stroked the dog's soft ears, a quiet comfort amidst the chaos. "I know, girl, it's not the huge garden you had, but at least here no one will judge you by a contract." She picked up her cell phone. No messages. Most of her high society friends disappeared the moment the engagement ended. Angelina Clark ceased to be the future Mrs. van der Hoven and reverted to being just Angelina, the girl without pedigree, the woman who had been discarded. Angelina sighed, throwing her phone onto the sofa. "They think I'm broke, Luna. They think I'm nothing without his money." Luna let out a soft bark and licked Angelina's hand, a silent promise that no matter how dark the tunnel, there would always be a wagging tail at the other end. Angelina smiled, a sad but genuine smile. "You're right. Who needs diamonds when you have dog slobber, right? Let's go for a walk. I need some fresh air before these walls start to shrink." Each day, reality imposed itself with greater force. Bills piled up, rent fell behind, and the premium food Luna needed because of her allergies became a luxury. Angelina, who once managed gala events and multi-million-dollar mergers, now found herself lost in a sea of job postings, each contact adding another nail to the coffin of her self-confidence. But Luna, with her liquid gold eyes, was her safe haven, the only thing keeping her from sinking completely. Angelina walked quickly, trying to keep up with the frenetic pace of the city, a stark contrast to the slowness of her own life. She had come downtown for a job interview at an art gallery, a remnant of her old dreams. The response, as usual, was a polite, "We'll be in touch." Another door closed, another hope dashed. Angelina adjusted the strap of her bag, talking to herself. "Okay, art galleries weren't really my thing anyway. Maybe that bookstore in Brooklyn." Suddenly, a deafening roar from a nearby construction site ripped through the air. A metal scaffold collapsed with a deafening crash, making the ground tremble. Luna, who was walking beside her, her blue collar gleaming in the sun, panicked. With a force Angelina hadn't expected, the golden gave a violent tug. The leash slipped from Angelina's sweaty hand, flying away. Angelina screams, panic taking over. "Luna, no!" The terrified dog darted down the crowded sidewalk, weaving between the legs of pedestrians who cursed and dodged, irritated by the interruption to their hurried lives. Angelina ran after her, her heart pounding in her throat, a drum of despair. "Luna, come back here. Stop her, please." But in New York, nobody stops. People just make way, annoyed, grumbling about the inconvenience. Luna turned the corner at high speed, running blindly toward the entrance of a large corporate building, a temple of glass and steel that seemed to swallow the light. Angelina's despair was a silent scream in the city's cacophony. Luna, her only family, her last link to sanity, was running into the unknown, and Angelina, her heart pounding, felt that if she lost her, she would lose herself forever. Pete, however, had other plans, and Luna's race was about to collide with the man who would change the course of their lives. Ryan Blackwood stepped out from behind the revolving glass doors, his cell phone pressed against his ear. He wore a bespoke Italian suit that cost more than Angelina's annual rent, a uniform of power and control. His expression was one of pure irritation, a reflection of a day filled with others' incompetence. Ryan speaks on the phone, his voice deep and authoritative. "I don't care what the board thinks, Marcus. If they want to sell the shares, let them sell. I'll buy everything. I'm not going to let this company become an amusement park for mediocre investors." He stopped on the sidewalk, checking the Rolex watch on his wrist. His driver was 30 seconds late. To Ryan, that was an eternity, a sign of failure in a world where every millisecond counted. Ryan scoffs. "Incompetence is the only thing that grows in this city. Listen, Marcus, I have to—" Ryan looked up from his watch just in time to see a golden blur coming toward him, an anomaly in his perfectly orchestrated world. Before he could react, 30 pounds of golden fur and fear crashed against his legs. Ryan lost his balance. His cell phone flew from his hand, sliding across the concrete with a loud thud. He staggered backward, but managed to stay upright, gripping a lamppost, his dignity hanging by a thread. Luna, trembling, huddled against his legs, hiding her snout behind Ryan's knee as if he were a human shield against the noisy and frightening world. Ryan looked down, stunned. He glanced at the scratched cell phone on the floor. Then he looked at the creature that was practically hugging his shin, a furry, terrified being that had invaded his personal space. Any other man in that position, especially one in a $5,000 suit now covered in golden fur, would have kicked the animal or yelled. But Ryan, to his own surprise, didn't. Ryan frowned. He crouched down slowly, ignoring the curious stares of passers-by, the paw print on his suit, the chaos the dog had caused. Ryan extends his hand, his voice shifting from authoritative to surprisingly gentle. "Hey, calm down. The scaffolding has already fallen. No one's going to hurt you here." Luna looked up, still trembling. She sniffed his hand and, feeling an unexpected sense of security, gave Ryan's fingers a shy lick. Ryan chuckled softly, incredulous. "Okay, is that an apology? Because you owe me a new iPhone." At that moment, Angelina turned the corner, her face flushed, her hair coming loose from its bun, her chest rising and falling violently. She saw the scene, the powerful man crouched in the middle of the sidewalk, being licked by his runaway dog, a contrast so absurd it seemed straight out of a movie. Angelina ran towards them, almost tripping, shame and relief battling in her chest. "Luna! Oh my God!" She threw herself to the ground beside the dog, hugging the animal's neck with such raw desperation and love that it made Ryan stop. Angelina says, "Do you want to give me a heart attack? Never do that again. Never." Ryan watched the woman. She didn't look like the women who frequented his building. Her hair was disheveled, she was sweaty, and she was wearing worn-out sneakers. But the way she hugged the dog, with such pure devotion, made Ryan stop. He saw the shame, yes, but behind it, a sadness so ancient and deep that it seemed to have taken root in her soul, an invisible armor she wore to protect herself from the world. He stood up, wiping his hands on his trousers. Ryan observes, "She has a beautiful sprint. She should be entered in the Olympics." Angelina lifted her face, still holding Luna. Her eyes met his, and for a second, the noise of the city disappeared. The world shrank to the two of them and a golden retriever. Angelina stammers, mortified with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." She was startled by the noise of the construction and, oh my God, her suit, her cell phone. She saw the device on the floor and tried to pick it up, but her hands were shaking so much that she almost dropped it again. Ryan bent down and picked up the phone before she could. The screen was cracked, but he didn't even look at the damage. He was looking at her, at the intensity of her blue eyes, at the vulnerability she was trying to hide. Ryan smiled, a crooked smile that wasn't exactly arrogant, just amused. The cell phone is replaceable. The suit too, but if she had run into the street, that wouldn't be replaceable. He reached out his hand to help Angelina to her feet. Ryan offers, "I'm Ryan, and this furry terrorist. Who is she?" Angelina accepted his hand. His palm was warm and firm. An electric sensation ran up her arm, something she hadn't felt in a long time, a spark of life amidst her darkness. Angelina replies, her voice faltering slightly. "Angelina, and this is Luna. And we're going to pay for your cell phone. I promise. I just need some time." Ryan studied her face. He saw the shame, but he also saw that deep sadness that enveloped her like a cloak. Her armor was almost visible. Ryan shakes his head. "Forget the phone. But I think Luna lost her ID during the race." He pointed to the collar. The metal tag with the name and phone number was gone. Ryan took a business card and a silver pen from his inside jacket pocket. He wrote something on the back of the card and handed it to her. Ryan says, "This is my personal number, not for collecting payments, but if you happen to find her nameplate around here, or if she decides to attack me again, it's good to know who to complain to." Angelina took the card. Ryan Blackwood, CEO, Blackwood Enterprises. The name resonated with power, the same kind of power Julian wielded, and that made her recoil slightly. Angelina swallowed hard. "Thank you, Mr. Blackwood, and sorry again." She tightened the leash 3 times over on Luna's collar and began to walk away, feeling his gaze burning into her back, a strange and unsettling sensation. Ryan stood on the sidewalk, ignoring his driver who had finally arrived. He looked at the card in his own hand, where he mentally noted her eye color. Ryan murmurs to himself, an enigmatic smile on his lips. Angelina. The unexpected encounter on the New York sidewalk was more than a collision of bodies. It was a collision of worlds. Ryan Blackwood, the untouchable tycoon, had been knocked down by a golden retriever and somehow hooked by its owner, a woman who exuded a deep sadness and a quiet dignity. Angelina, in turn, had found a glimpse of kindness in a world that had discarded her, a spark of hope that she, out of fear, desperately tried to ignore. The game had begun, and neither of them knew that their destinies were irrevocably intertwined. Ryan Blackwood stood before the enormous panoramic window on the 40th floor. New York City stretched out below him like a drab, grey chessboard, an empire he had built and controlled with almost surgical precision. Behind him, a stunning blonde model, the influencer of the moment his PR had insisted he meet, sat on the leather sofa, talking non-stop about the importance of perfect lighting for her photos. The model laughs, tossing her hair back in a rehearsed movement. "And then I told the photographer that my light is strictly that of a sunset. You understand, Ryan? Are you listening to me?" Ryan didn't turn around. His eyes were fixed on a tiny point of color in Central Park, down below, a golden dot chasing a ball, and a female figure in a red coat, laughing, a sound he could somehow almost hear, even from that distance. It was Angelina. Her smile, so genuine and free, was a stark contrast to the practiced smiles he saw every day. Ryan murmurs, almost to himself, "Sunset, sure." The model stood up and walked over to him, running her hand along the arm of his suit jacket with a familiarity he hadn't granted her. The model says, "You seem tense, darling. Perhaps we should skip this business lunch and go to your apartment. I heard the view from there is even better." Ryan looked at her hand on his arm with the same interest he would have for a coffee stain. He stepped back gently, but firmly, a master of maintaining distance. Ryan checks his watch. "Unfortunately, I have an unavoidable appointment. Marcus will escort her to the exit." That was enlightening. He grabbed his jacket and left the room before she could protest, leaving the most desired woman of the week talking to herself, her voice lost in the silence Ryan left behind. In the hallway, his assistant, Marcus, ran after him with a tablet, his breath ragged. Marcus gasps. Mr. Blackwood! The meeting with the Japanese investors is in 20 minutes. Mr. Tanaka hates delays. Ryan pressed the elevator button, a mischievous glint in his eyes that no one had seen in years. Cancel it. Tell them I'm in a critical merger negotiation. Marcus's eyes widened in confusion. Fusion? With whom? Ryan stepped into the elevator and pressed the ground floor button, an enigmatic smile on his lips. Ryan winks, with a pastrami sandwich and fresh air. Ryan Blackwood, the man who controlled empires and traded billions, was about to break all his own rules. The image of that woman, with her carefree smile and her golden retriever, had infiltrated his mind, an unexpected virus in his perfectly organized system. He didn't know why, but he felt an irresistible attraction to that authenticity, to that life that seemed so distant from his own. And so, the Wall Street CEO traded a multi-million-dollar meeting for a chance encounter in the park, driven by a curiosity he couldn't and didn't want to control. Angelina was in her small apartment in Queens, the smell of old mold and reheated coffee hanging in the air, a constant reminder of her new reality. Luna lay at her feet, watching her with expressive eyes. Angelina held the phone, her finger hovering over her mother's number. She had avoided this call for weeks, shame gnawing at her. Angelina sighs, speaking to Luna. I can't call Luna. She'll know. She'll know I failed. Luna lets out a soft moan. As if encouraging her, Angelina gathers her courage and dials. The phone rings a few times before a warm but worried voice answers, Mom. A voice on the other end of the line. Hello, my daughter, Angelina. Is that you? Why did it take you so long to call? Angelina forces a smile. Hi, Mom. Sorry, life here in New York is such a rush, you know. Rushing around. And that voice. My daughter. It sounds like you're eating air. Are you eating properly? Your father and I are worried. Angelina feels her stomach growl loudly, betraying her. She blushes, trying to hide it. Angelina stammers, No, Mom, I'm fine. It's just the city noise. Noise? Or your stomach? Angelina, don't stay there starving, my daughter. Go back home. Here in the countryside, you have a roof over your head, food on the table. You don't need to humiliate yourself for a man who doesn't deserve you. Those words, no need to humiliate yourself, hit Angelina like a blow. She felt the tears burning, the shame choking her. She, who had once been the future Mrs. van der Hoven, was now the daughter her mother feared was going hungry. Angelina replies, her voice choked with emotion. I'm not humiliating myself, Mom. I'll manage. I just need some time. I'll call you later, okay? I have to go. She hung up the phone abruptly, before her mother could say anything more. Tears streamed freely now, hot and bitter. Luna, sensing her owner's sadness, stood up and licked her salty tears, a silent comfort. Angelina hugs Luna. I'm not coming back, girl. I can't. I have to prove I'm more than a useless investment. The humiliation of the confrontation with her mother was a catalyst. Angelina, who had previously flirted with the idea of giving up, now felt a newfound determination. She wouldn't go home a failure. She would prove it to Julian, she would prove it to her mother, and above all, she would prove it to herself that she was capable of rebuilding her life, brick by brick, even if her stomach growled in protest. Ryan sat on a wooden bench, far enough from the main path not to be disturbed, but close enough to see passers-by. He held a sandwich wrapped in brown paper, looking out of place in his three-piece suit amidst nature. The smell of pastrami and mustard was a welcome contrast to the sterile aroma of his office, but he didn't care. He was waiting, and then they appeared. Angelina walked slowly, tossing an old tennis ball to Luna. She was wearing jeans, an oversized sweater, and zero makeup. She looked tired, but when Luna brought the ball back, Angelina's smile lit up the entire park. It was a real smile, not the practiced smile of a model in the office. It was a smile Ryan wanted to see more often. Luna, with her infallible radar for affectionate humans, spotted Ryan on the bench. Her tail began to spin like a propeller, an engine of joy. Angelina saw where the dog's gaze was and froze. She recognized the man in the suit, the CEO she had knocked down. Angelina tries to hold the leash. Luna doesn't. Leave the rich young man alone. He probably has more important things to do than babysit dogs. But Ryan was already getting up, brushing imaginary crumbs off his pants. Ryan nods. Too late. I think she smelled my pastrami, or maybe she just misses knocking me to the ground. Angelina approached hesitantly. She crossed her arms, a physical barrier between them, her armor fully displayed. Angelina raises an eyebrow. Mr. Blackwood, I thought CEOs ate lunch in places where water cost $10 a bottle. What are you doing on a park bench? Ryan offered Luna a piece of his sandwich, which she accepted delicately, with the elegance of a lady. Ryan shrugs. $10 water tastes pretentious. And please, it's Ryan. Mr. Blackwood is my father's name, and he was a bore. Besides, the view from here is much better than from my boardroom, and the company, well, the company is more interesting. Angelina let out a short laugh, surprised by his frankness and humor. It was a light, almost forgotten sound. Angelina retorts, "Okay, Ryan, I'm Angelina, and that hungry mercenary is Luna, but you already knew that. And about the company, I'm sure your meetings are full of people far more important than a woman who just got fired from a temporary job at a flower shop." Ryan stared at her. She wasn't flirting. She wasn't trying to please. She was defensive, but with a hint of sarcasm that he found fascinating. Ryan points to the empty space on the bench. "May I offer the ladies a shady spot? I promise not to talk about stocks or real estate, unless you want me to. Of course. I have some hot tips about tulips." Angelina hesitated. Her instinct screamed at her to run. Men like him were dangerous. Men like him had expectations. But Luna had already lain down at Ryan's feet, sighing contentedly, as if she had found her new best friend. Angelina sat at the opposite end of the bench, keeping a safe distance. "Okay, but if you start talking about cryptocurrencies, Luna bites." "And so do I." Ryan laughed, a genuine sound that made a few heads turn in the park. It was a sound he rarely made in his corporate world. Ryan raises his hands in surrender. "Understood. No crypto. Let's talk serious. What's the best pizzeria in New York? And be careful. The wrong answer could end our friendship before it even begins." The meetings in the park became routine. Whenever Ryan spotted Angelina in the park, he would find a way to leave the office, loosen his tie as he entered the park, and change his impeccable suit for a more casual shirt. With each casual encounter, Angelina relaxed a little more each day, laughing at his jokes, but always maintaining that physical distance, never a touch beyond what was necessary. Her armor, though cracked, was still there, protecting a heart that had been so brutally wounded. Texting had become a new ritual. Angelina, lying in bed, the room lit only by the light of her cell phone, should have been sleeping, but the conversation with Ryan had been going on for 2 hours. They talked about books, about his childhood. He omitted the part about wealth, talking about summers at camps and boyish mischief, about her obsession with old movies and the passion for cooking that she had abandoned. But every time he asked something personal, like, "Why did you move to this neighborhood?" or "What did you do before?" she would deflect, her armor closing in. Ryan's text, "You're good at changing the subject. You should be a politician or a spy." Angelina bites her lip, a small smile playing on her lips. Angelina's text, "And you're very curious for an executive. Don't you have reports to read or empires to conquer?" Ryan's text, "I do. But they don't make me laugh. You do. And Luna, too. She sent me a bone emoji today. Angelina felt her heart race. He made her laugh. He reminded her of Luna. She turns off her phone screen and places it against her chest. Angelina whispers to the dark ceiling, "Don't do this, Angelina. He's temporary. As soon as he knows the truth, he'll be gone." Just like Julian. She didn't respond again that night, the fear of giving herself away again, preventing her from taking the next step. With each shared laugh, with each exchanged message, the wall Angelina had built around her heart began to show small cracks. Ryan, with his gentle persistence and unexpected humor, was slowly dismantling her defenses. But fear, that wild animal Julian had planted in her soul, still lurked in the shadows, ready to attack the moment she allowed herself to feel too much. Then came the rainy Tuesday. Ryan sat on a bench under a black umbrella, glancing at his watch. The park was empty, washed by the heavy rain, a grey veil over the city. He waited 10 minutes, 20, 30. Nobody showed up. The worry that welled up in Ryan's chest was irrational. He closed billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, but the absence of a woman he barely knew made his stomach churn. He felt an emptiness, a sense of loss that surprised him. He returned to the office, soaked and in a bad mood. He picked up the business card where he had written Luna's collar number weeks ago. He stared at the phone, the dilemma gnawing at him. Is that intrusive? Will she think I'm a stalker? Ryan typed, deleted, typed again, send. Text on cell phone screen, is Luna on strike because of the rain, or should I call the National Guard for a rescue? And you, are you hiding from the rain or from me? He stared at the screen for 5 agonizing minutes, each second an eternity. The cell phone vibrates. Angelina's text. Luna is made of sugar. She refuses to go out, and I don't have a bulletproof umbrella like certain CEOs. Ryan released the breath he hadn't even realized he was holding. A silly smile formed on his face. She was okay, and she had responded. Ryan's text. Tomorrow I'll bring an extra one. Armored, and maybe a bribe in the form of dog biscuits. For both of them. Angelina's text. Cookies are welcome, but don't get used to it. We're picky girls, and Luna only accepts organic cookies. Ryan leaned back in his leather chair, twirling his cell phone in his hand. Difficult. He liked that. He liked the challenge, the authenticity, the way she made him laugh and forget the world of numbers and transactions. That rainy day, which could have been the end, became a new beginning. The messages, once a cautious flirtation, were now a bridge, a way for Ryan and Angelina to connect on a deeper level, revealing layers of their personalities that the park didn't allow. Angelina's armor was still there, but Ryan, with his patience and humor, was finding the cracks, and what he saw behind them fascinated him more and more. The next day, he eagerly awaited the moment he would see her again. Finally, in the late afternoon, Ryan and Angelina walked side by side in the park. Ryan's armored umbrella, a fun gift, was folded in his hand, and Luna, with an organic cookie in her mouth, looked happier than ever. They stopped near the carousel in the park. Cheerful music played in the background, a melodic contrast to the city's hustle and bustle. A family walked past them. A young father carried a little girl on his shoulders, while the pregnant mother laughed and took pictures. It was the image of perfect family happiness, an idyllic scene that seemed to float in the air. Ryan smiled, observing the scene. Beautiful, isn't it? Sometimes I wonder if all this office rush is worth it when I see this. He stopped. He looked at Angelina. She wasn't smiling. Her face was pale, drained of all color. Her eyes were fixed on the pregnant woman's belly with an expression of pain so raw, so devastating, that it looked as if she had been physically stabbed. It was the crack in her armor, the painful truth she was trying to hide. Ryan took a step toward her, his voice low and worried. Angelina. What's wrong? Are you okay? Angelina blinked, snapping out of her trance. She turned her face quickly, wiping away a tear that had escaped before he could see it. But he did see it. Angelina forces a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. I'm fine, just allergies. The pollen after the rain, you know? She started walking faster, pulling Luna along. I have to go. I have an interview. Ryan gently held her arm, just a light touch on the elbow. She stopped, but didn't turn around. Ryan says firmly, You don't have to tell me what it is, but don't lie to me, Angelina. I deal with liars all day. I know when I see a painful truth. Angelina trembled under his touch. For a second, she wanted to tell him. She wanted to scream that her body was a graveyard of dreams, that she was broken, as Julian had said, but fear won. That touch, that spark, was dangerous. She had promised herself that she would never allow herself to feel again, never lower her guard again, but the warmth of his hand was a treacherous invitation to life. Angelina gently let go. It's complicated, Ryan. Complicated things scare people. Ryan stared at her, his eyes intense. I don't scare easily. He took a cream-colored envelope from the inside pocket of his jacket. Ryan hands over the envelope. Saturday night. It's a New York pet rescue charity event. There will be an auction, dinner, and lots of dogs in need of visibility. I'm the host. Angelina stared at the envelope as if it were a bomb. Angelina recoils. Ryan, I don't have the clothes for this. I don't belong in your world. I'm the woman your mother thinks is starving, not the socialite who attends gala balls. Ryan stepped forward, invading her personal space for the first time. My world is full of empty people, Angelina. I'd like to have someone real there, someone who cares about the cause, not the photos, and about the clothes. Don't worry. I know some stores that can take care of that. He placed the envelope in her hand. Ryan whispers, Please, for Luna, and for me. He walked away before she could return the hand, heading towards his car, which was waiting on the street. Angelina stood still in the middle of the park, holding the golden ticket. Luna barked, wagging her tail, unaware that this piece of paper could be the beginning of a fairy tale or the stage for Angelina's worst nightmare. The invitation to the ball was more than just a piece of paper. It was a portal to a world Angelina had sworn never to set foot in again. Julian's world, the world of wealth and expectations. But Ryan's gaze, the way he saw her, not as an investment, but as someone real, was an irresistible temptation. She knew she was risking her heart again, but the promise to help animals and the curiosity about the man who made her laugh were too strong to ignore. The Cinderella of Queens was about to return to the ball, but this time she wasn't looking for a prince. She was looking for herself. The next day, on the 40th floor of Blackwood Enterprises, time seems to stand still. Employees who normally rush by with briefcases stop in the middle of the hallway, speechless. The reason, Ryan Blackwood, the man never seen without a three-piece Italian suit, is walking towards the elevator wearing running clothes, a grey technical t-shirt that accentuates his defined muscles and black workout pants. Your secretary, Miss Higgins, adjusts her glasses in disbelief. Mr. Blackwood, you have a video conference with London in half an hour. Ryan presses the elevator button, a mischievous glint in his eyes that no one has seen in years. Tell London the time zone has changed. Mrs. Higgins, I'm going to make an investment in my mental health. Cut to Central Park. The afternoon sun bathes the trees in a golden light. Ryan runs side by side with Angelina. The pace is steady, the sound of their breaths and Luna's paws on the asphalt creating a rhythmic melody. Ryan glances sideways at Angelina. The wind ruffles her golden brown hair, loose strands clinging lightly to her sweaty neck. Her blue eyes sparkle with the effort, more vibrant than any diamond he's ever seen in Fifth Avenue shop windows. For a moment, the stock charts, the hostile mergers, and the solitude of his penthouse vanish. Only she exists. Her smile when Luna chases a squirrel is the only goal he wants to achieve today. They stop near a natural juice stand, breathless and laughing. Ryan runs a hand through his damp hair. "You have a brutal pace, Angelina. I thought you were going to kill me in the second kilometer." Angelina grabs the water bottle. "Don't blame the pace, Ryan. Blame the hours sitting in the leather chair. The body exacts the price of luxury." Ryan steps forward, closing the distance between them. Her scent, a mixture of jasmine and honest effort, is intoxicating. Ryan smiled, his voice hoarse and low. "Maybe I need a personal trainer, someone who isn't afraid to make me sweat, someone ruthless." Angelina feels the warmth of his approach. She blushes, glancing at Luna. "I'm sure you can hire the best, Ryan." At that moment, Luna, sniffing a piece of pretzel on the ground, begins to spin in circles. The long leash quickly wraps around Ryan and Angelina's legs. Angelina tries to break free. "Luna, stop!" But the dog's sudden movement pulls them violently against each other. Angelina's chest collides with Ryan's firm chest. She loses her balance, clinging to his shoulders to avoid falling. Ryan's hands instinctively go to her waist, holding her firmly. The world stops. They are inches apart. Ryan can see the golden flecks within her blue irises. He feels her quickened breath against his neck. The heat of her body burns through the thin fabric of his t-shirt, igniting a bonfire in his blood. Ryan doesn't let go of her. On the contrary, his fingers gently tighten around her waist, pulling her a millimeter closer. Ryan whispers, his eyes fixed on her mouth. "I think Luna has her own ideas about proximity management." Angelina looks at his mouth. For a second, the wall crumbles. The desire is palpable, electric. She wants to kiss him. God, how she wants to. But Julian's voice echoes in her mind. Defective merchandise. With a superhuman effort, she unwinds from the leash and takes a step back, breaking contact. Angelina stammered, nervously fixing her hair. "She's so clumsy. Sorry. I need to go. I have to check some job postings." Ryan stood there, feeling the chill of her absence where there had once been warmth. He watched her walk away, frustrated, but more fascinated than ever. Her refusal hadn't discouraged him. It only confirmed that the prize was worth the fight. Ryan is back in his glass tower, but his mind is in the park. He holds a glass of water, watching the bench where they usually have lunch. Angelina is there, but she's not alone. A man is sitting next to her. He is younger, dressed casually, and gesturing animatedly. Angelina laughs at something he says. She touches his arm. A low growl rises in Ryan's throat. The crystal glass in his hand crackles under the pressure of his fingers. Jealousy hits him like a freight train. It's irrational, primal, and overwhelming. He has no right to her. They aren't dating, but seeing that stranger making her laugh, occupying the space Ryan fought so hard to conquer, awakens a possessive instinct he didn't know he possessed. Ryan growls at the empty glass. "Who are you? And why are you breathing her air?" He takes the binoculars he keeps in the drawer, officially to observe the city's architecture, unofficially to see it. He focuses. The man is handing her papers, resumes, pamphlets. It doesn't matter. The idea of another man touching her, comforting her, or worse, loving her, is unacceptable. Ryan realizes, with terrifying clarity, that this is no longer a game. He doesn't just want to win her over. He loves her. He loves her stubbornness, her sadness, her crazy side, and he's not going to lose her. Ryan puts down the binoculars and picks up his cell phone. He needs to get her off that bench. He needs to bring her into his world, where he can protect her and keep the competition away. He remembers what she said during the race. Check job postings. That's it. The bridge. Ryan dials her number. He sees Angelina downstairs picking up the phone. The man next to her stops talking. Ryan speaks, his voice controlled, but with an underlying urgency. Angelina? It's Ryan. Angelina replies, her voice distant. Hi, Ryan. Did something happen to Luna? Ryan swiveled his chair, turning his back to the window so he wouldn't have to see the other man. No, something happened at my company. My personal art curator quit this morning. She left a mess on a charity project. It was a blatant lie. The curator was happy in her position, but Ryan would create a vacancy, create an entire department if necessary. Ryan continued, persuasively, I remembered you mentioned having experience with galleries. I need someone trustworthy. Angelina, someone with a keen eye who won't try to flatter me. I'm desperate. Could you help me? It's temporary, of course. Triple pay for the urgency. Down below, Angelina looks at the man next to her, who is actually just a volunteer at the animal shelter asking for donations. She stares at the empty bank account in her mind. Angelina sighs, relieved. Ryan? Me? Seriously, that would save my life right now. Ryan smiles, a predatory yet protective smile. Great, come to my office tomorrow. And Angelina? Angelina asks. Yes, Ryan says, his voice dropping an octave. Come alone. The job requires your full attention. He hangs up, feeling triumph coursing through his veins. She would be in his building, in his territory, and that man in the park would be just a distant memory. At the appointed time, Angelina grips the strap of her worn handbag so tightly that her fingers turn white. The lobby of Blackwood Enterprises is intimidating. 10-meter-high ceilings, security guards who look like ex-military men, and receptionists who seem to have stepped out of the cover of Vogue. She feels small, a fraud. Julian's voice whispers in her mind, You don't belong here. But then she thinks about the overdue rent, about the premium food Luna needs because of her allergy. She straightens her spine. Angelina says to the receptionist, I have an appointment with Mr. Blackwood. Angelina Clark. The receptionist doesn't even look at the schedule. Oh yes, Ms. Clark, he's waiting. Private elevator to the right. Angelina Pisca. Waiting? CEOs don't wait. She goes upstairs. When the doors open on the 40th floor, she doesn't find a waiting room. She steps straight into Ryan's colossal office. He's there, in his shirt sleeves, leaning over a table covered in floor plans and auction catalogues. He looks stressed, but when he looks up and sees her, the tension in his shoulders instantly evaporates. Ryan smiles, and it's that genuine park smile, not a shark smile. You came. I thought Luna had convinced you to stay in bed. Angelina steps forward, trying to maintain professionalism. Luna is a terrible career advisor, and I need the job. Ryan, if the position is real... Ryan walks around the table and points to the chaotic jumble of papers. Unfortunately, it's all too real. My former curator had impeccable taste, but a chaotic organizational style. The charity auction is tomorrow night, and the arrangement of the artworks is a disaster. The donors will be offended if their Picassos end up next to the restrooms. Angelina approaches the table. She looks at the map of the Plaza Hotel's ballroom. Her eyes scan the suggested layout. Angelina frowns, instinct taking over. Who did this? Placing the modern sculptures in the center blocks the flow of the waiters, and the lighting for the watercolors is too strong in that area. It will create reflections on the glass. She grabs a red pen from Ryan's desk without asking permission and starts scribbling on the paper. Angelina murmurs, focused, move the sculptures to the sides, create a visual corridor here, and place the main pieces at the back to force people to walk across the entire room and see the smaller items. It's basic retail psychology. She stops, realizing what she's done. She's just scribbled down the CEO's plans. Angelina drops the pen, blushing. Sorry, I got carried away. Ryan is looking at her, not at the role, at her. He's fascinated by her competence, her passion, the natural authority she exudes when she knows what she's talking about. It's incredibly sexy. Ryan crosses his arms, leaning against the table. Don't apologize. You just resolved in 2 minutes what my team discussed for 2 hours. He extends his hand. The job is yours. Double your salary if you start now. Angelina squeezes his hand, stunned. Now. But Ryan holds her hand for a second longer than necessary. Now. And that includes her first official assignment. He steps back and picks up the golden envelope we already know, the invitation, but now the context is different. Ryan hands over the envelope. As the event coordinator, your presence at tomorrow's ball is mandatory. I need you there to make sure no one puts the Picassos in the bathroom, and I need someone to keep me from dying of boredom. Angelina looks at the invitation. This isn't a date, it's work. She can't refuse work. Angelina sighs, defeated, but with a glint of excitement in her eyes. That's a low blow, boss. I don't have the right clothes for an event like this. Ryan returns to his chair, picks up the phone. Logistical details. Be ready at 7 p.m. A car will pick you up. And Angelina. She stops at the elevator door. Ryan says, his voice soft, "Welcome to the team." The small bedroom in Queens is a mess of fabrics and shoes. On the unmade bed rests a black box with the logo of Blackwood Enterprises inside. There wasn't a uniform, but a dress. Angelina stands before the stained mirror of her wardrobe. The dress is a deep, almost midnight blue, of pure silk that glides over her body like water. It is elegant, understated, yet devastatingly sensual. She runs her hand over the fabric, feeling like a fraud. Angelina whispers to her reflection, "Cinderella for one night. And tomorrow, the carriage turns into a pumpkin and the prince becomes the boss." Luna, lying on the bed, lets out a bark of approval. Angelina turns to the dog, trying to smile. "Do you think he'll notice I'm wearing fake earrings? Or that my perfume is a free sample from the magazine?" Luna wags her tail, not caring about social conventions. Angelina takes a deep breath, grabbing her handbag. "It's work, Luna. Just work. I'll go there, make sure no one steals the paintings, and come back home. No lost glass slippers." The hall is a spectacle of golden lights and white flowers. New York's elite are present, displaying diamonds that could feed small countries. Angelina is in the corner, clipboard in hand, discreetly hidden behind her bag. She's not drinking, she's working. Angelina instructs a waiter, her voice low and professional. "Please keep the canapé trays away from the ice sculpture. The heat from the savory pastries is causing the angel wing to melt." The waiter nods and walks away. Angelina crosses an item off her mental list. She's good at that. Chaos calms her, but then the music changes. The murmur fades. Ryan enters the room. He wears a classic black tuxedo, but on him it looks like a suit of armor. He walks with that predatory confidence, greeting donors with firm handshakes, but his eyes are scanning the room. Hunting. Angelina tries to hide behind a marble column, but it's useless. His gaze finds her like a guided missile. Ryan stops. He ignores the senator who was speaking to him and walks straight toward her. The sea of people parts. He stops in front of her. He doesn't say hi. He doesn't say good night. He just looks her up and down with an intensity that makes her knees tremble. Ryan says, his voice hoarse, "I told you to come as a coordinator. I didn't say to come dressed to give my investors a heart attack." Angelina feels her face burning, but maintains her composure. "The dress was your choice, boss. If there are any cardiac arrests, the company is legally responsible." Ryan steps forward, invading her personal space. "I'll have the legal team prepare the defense." The salon is immaculate, by the way. You worked miracles. Angelina clutches the clipboard to her chest. This is my job. The sculptures are safe, and the waiter's flow is optimized. Can I go home now? Ryan smiles, extending his hand. Not yet. There's a clause in your contract I forgot to mention. The coordinator must open the dance floor with the host to encourage donations. Angelina looks at his hand. It's a large, strong hand, a hand that could either hold her or destroy her. Angelina hesitates. Ryan, everyone is watching. They're going to talk. They're going to say the new employee is... Ryan interrupts her, gently taking her hand. Let them talk. While they talk, we dance. He pulls her onto the track. They turn around. His hand on her waist is firm, possessive. Her hand on his shoulder is light, trembling. The world around them disappears. The lights become blurs. Only the scent of sandalwood and rain and the warmth of his body remain. Ryan murmurs close to her ear, "You're trembling." Angelina replies, without looking him in the eye, "I'm afraid of stepping on your foot. Italian shoes are expensive." Ryan tightened his grip on her waist, pulling her closer. "Lie better, Angelina. You're not afraid of my shoes. You're afraid of this." Angelina raises her eyes. His gaze is naked, disarmed. Angelina whispers, "About what?" Ryan rests his forehead against hers, ignoring the 300 people watching. "The truth, that we're both pretending this is just work, that I'm dying to take you away from here and show you that life doesn't have to be this cold emptiness we both know." Angelina's heart skips a beat. He sees her emptiness. He sees her loneliness. Angelina tries to pull away, panic rising. "Ryan, no, you don't know. You don't know who I am. I'm complicated. I'm broken." The word comes out like a shard of glass. Ravine, the word Julian used, the word the doctors used. Ryan stops dancing. They are in the middle of the hall, standing like statues. Ryan cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to look at him. Ryan says, with a quiet ferocity, "Listen carefully. I don't fix things, Angelina. I'm not a mechanic of souls. I value them. The cracks are where the light gets in. Whatever you think is wrong with you, to me, only makes you more real." Angelina feels the tears burning. No one ever said that. No one ever looked at her scars and saw value. Ryan tilts his head. He's going to kiss her, and she wants to. God, how she wants to. She closes her eyes, parting her lips slightly, ready to surrender, ready to forget the past, the pain, the infertility. A voice cuts through the air like a blade of ice. Male voice. "Angelina." The spell breaks. The sound is like a gunshot. Angelina opens her eyes and freezes. The blood drains from her face so quickly that she almost faints in Ryan's arms. She turns around slowly. Standing at the edge of the dance floor, holding a glass of whiskey as if it were a royal scepter, is Julian, the ex-fiancé, the man who dumped her. He is impeccable, cold and smiling with that familiar disdain. Julian steps forward, his eyes scanning her dress with cruel amusement. "What are you doing here? I thought we agreed you'd return to the anonymity that suits you." Ryan positions himself in front of Angelina, his body tense, ready for the attack. Ryan asks, his voice low and dangerous, "And who are you to say where she should or shouldn't be?" Julian smiles at Ryan, a shark smile for another shark. Julian responds, extending his hand, Julian van der Hoven, ex-fiancé, and, apparently, the man who forgot to inform the next investor about the manufacturing defects in the merchandise. The air between the three seems to vibrate with the static electricity of hatred. Ryan doesn't back down an inch. He keeps his body positioned like a shield between Angelina and Julian. Ryan says, his voice as cold as the marble floor. "Factory defects. Watch your words, Van der Hoven. My lawyers love to sue for defamation, and I love destroying reputations for sport. Julian lets out a dry laugh, taking a sip of his whiskey. He doesn't seem intimidated. He seems bored. Julian replies, "Ah, Ryan, always the white knight. It's touching, really, but you can't defame the truth. And the truth about our dear Angelina is something you don't put in an investment prospectus." He glances at Angelina, who is huddled behind Ryan, visibly trembling. Julian continues, "Aren't you going to introduce us, darling? Or did the cat get your tongue along with the rest of your future?" Angelina feels the floor spin. Panic is like a cold hand tightening around her throat. She needs to get out of there. She needs to breathe. Angelina whispers, her voice faltering, "Ryan, I need to go to the bathroom." Ryan turns to her, concern instantly replacing anger. He holds her shoulders. Ryan says, "You don't need to run away from him. I'll take care of it. Stay here." But Angelina shakes her head frantically. She can't stay. If she stays, Julian will tell. And if Julian tells, Ryan's adoring gaze will turn to pity, or worse, to disgust. Angelina pulls away from his hands. "Please, just a minute." She turns and runs toward the side corridor, her heels clicking rapidly on the floor, a desperate escape rhythm. Ryan makes to follow her, but Julian steps aside, blocking his path. Julian says, "Let her go, Blackwood. Believe me, she needs to touch up her makeup. Tears always ruin the cheap foundation she's wearing now." Ryan stops. He clenches his hands into fists so tight that his knuckles crack. He slowly turns to face Julian. Ryan growled, "If you say one more word about her, I'll make you swallow this crystal goblet." Julian smiles, raising his hands in mocking surrender. Julian says, "Calm down. Let's talk like businessmen. I'm just trying to save you from a loss. Shall we grab a drink at the bar? What I have to tell you will save you a lot of time and money." Ryan looks down the hallway where Angelina disappeared. Then he looks at Julian. He needs to know what this man knows. He needs to know what weapon Julian is using against her. Ryan nods dryly. "One drink, and then you disappear from my party and from her life." Angelina doesn't go into the bathroom. She walks straight past the door and out onto the side terrace, where the cold night air hits her sweaty face. She leans against the stone balustrade, trying to draw air into her lungs. He knows. He's going to tell. It's over. The terrace door opens behind her. Angelina turns, expecting to see Ryan, expecting to see the trial, but it's Julian. Of course it's Julian. He followed her while Ryan ordered drinks. Julian closes the door behind him, muffling the sound of the party. The silence is terrifying. Julian walks up to her, his hands in his pockets, casually like a predator playing with its food. Julian says, "Did you really think you could hide here? In my world." Wearing clothes he bought, drinking his champagne and playing house. Angelina backs up until her back hits the cold stone. "Leave me alone, Julian. I don't want anything from you." Julian stops a step away from her. He doesn't touch her, but his presence is suffocating. Julian whispers venomously, "You're a fraud, Angelina. Are you deceiving this poor guy too? Did you tell him about your little problem? Did you tell him you're a genetic dead end?" Angelina closes her eyes, hot tears streaming down her face. "Stop," Julian continues, relentlessly. "Men like Ryan Blackwood want legacies. They want children with their eyes and their surname. What can you give him? Love." He laughs, a cruel sound. "Love dies. Bloodlines remain. You're a barren garden, Angelina. Nothing grows in you. Are you going to let him invest time and emotion in something that will never yield a return? That's selfishness, even for you." His words hit exactly where it hurts. The doubt she carries with her every day. I am not enough. Angelina opens her eyes, sobbing, "You're a monster." Julian shrugs, adjusting his tie. "I'm a realist, and I'm doing him a favor. I'll tell the truth, Angelina, unless you disappear. Now, before he comes back with the drinks, and I have to explain why his girlfriend is damaged goods. He walks away, opening the door to return to the party. Julian says, without looking back, "You have 3 minutes." Ryan is at the bar, gripping 2 glasses of whiskey tightly. He glances at his watch. Julian disappeared 2 minutes ago. Angelina hasn't returned. Something is wrong. His instincts are screaming at him. He sets the glasses down on the counter and walks towards the hallway. He passes through the glass doors that lead to the main lobby, and then he sees her. Angelina is running toward the revolving exit. She's not walking fast. She's running. The blue dress billows behind her like a flag of surrender. Ryan shouts, ignoring etiquette, "Angelina!" She pauses for a second at the revolving door. She looks back. Ryan sees her face, smudged makeup, eyes red with terror, and a shame so profound that it physically affects him from 20 meters away. She thinks he knows. She thinks he agrees with Julian. Angelina enters the revolving door and disappears into the New York night. Ryan runs. He pushes past waiters, bumps into guests. He reaches the sidewalk seconds later. The street is full of taxis and limousines. He looks to the left, then to the right. Nothing. She disappeared. He looks at the ground. Near the curb, where a taxi must have stopped hurriedly, something is shining. Ryan bends down and picks it up. It's her hair clip, a small silver piece that he saw her nervously put on before they left. He grips the cold metal in his hand. The anger he feels now isn't hot. It's icy. It's absolute. Ryan turns around and goes back to the hotel. He's not going after her now. He can't show up in front of her carrying this rage. First, he needs to destroy the source of her fear. Julian is at his desk, calmly signing papers. He doesn't even flinch when his office door is flung open. His secretary tries to protest, but Ryan bulldozes through her. Ryan stands in front of Julian's desk. He throws the silver clip onto the signed papers. Ryan says, his voice dangerously calm, "What did you say to her?" Julian looks up, smiling that irritating smile. "Good morning to you too, Blackwood. I see your night ended lonely." Ryan rests both hands on the table, leaning over Julian. "I'm not going to ask again. She's gone. The apartment is empty. The phone's off. What did you say to make her run away like that?" Julian puts down the pen and leans back in his chair, interlacing his fingers. Julian replies, "I did you a favor, Ryan. I cleaned up the mess. You were about to get involved with a woman who can't give you the one thing that matters to men in our position." Ryan frowned, confused. "What are you talking about?" Julian stands up, coming face to face with Ryan. The moment of revelation. "The final poison," Julian says, savoring each syllable. "Angelina is infertile. Ryan, hostile uterus, failed ovaries. Call it what you will. She can't have children. The Blackwood lineage would die with her. I just saved you from a bad investment." The silence in the office is deafening. Ryan stares at Julian. He processes the information. Sterile. The pain in her eyes when she saw the pregnant woman in the park. The comment about being broken. The fear of not being enough. Everything makes sense now, but Julian made a fatal miscalculation. He thought Ryan cared about lineage. He thought Ryan was like him. Ryan starts to laugh. A low, humorless laugh that makes Julian's smile falter for the first time. Ryan says, "You're an idiot, Julian." Julian blinks. "What's that?" Ryan steps away from the table, adjusting his jacket with terrifying calm. Ryan says, "Did you think I wanted her because of an heir? Did you think I cared about lineage?" His voice rises, exploding with fury. "I want her because she's the only real thing I've found in my entire miserable life. And you made her think she was worth less because of a biological flaw." Ryan turns his back to Julian and walks to the door. Ryan stops and looks over his shoulder. "Pray that I find her, Julian. Because if she doesn't come back, I will dedicate every penny of my fortune, every minute of my time to destroying your company, your legacy, and your life. And that's not a threat. It's an investment promise. He slams the door, leaving Julian pale in the silence of his glass office. Ryan didn't come home. He didn't change his clothes. He's still wearing his tuxedo from the ball, now without the tie, his white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, his sleeves rolled up. He looks like a general in the middle of a battlefield, exuding an aura of danger that makes his senior executives sweat. He stands at the head of the glass conference table. 12 of New York's best lawyers and analysts are seated, awaiting orders. Ryan points to the main screen, where the logo of Van der Hoeven Holdings turns slowly. Ryan says, his voice calm and terrifying, "I want everything." The finance director, a grey-haired man named Mr. Henderson, clears his throat nervously. Henderson asks, "Mr. Blackwood, when you say everything, are you referring to the technology division or the commercial real estate? A hostile takeover of the entire holding company would be expensive and risky. The market will react badly." Ryan rests his hands on the table, leaning toward Henderson. His eyes are bloodshot, but focused like lasers. Ryan replies, "I didn't ask the price, Henderson. I gave an order. I want their debt. I want the bank loans. I want the mortgages on Julian's personal properties. If he has an account at the corner bakery, I want to buy the bakery and collect the debt." A shocked silence falls over the room. This isn't business. This is execution. Ryan continues, pacing the table like a caged predator. "Julian van der Hoeven likes to talk about bad investments. Let's show him what happens when you bet against the house. Trigger the breach of contract clause on joint ventures. Freeze the lines of credit. I want his name to be so expensive by noon that it can't even buy a coffee in Manhattan." Henderson swallows hard and types a command on his tablet. Henderson says, "Starting the purchase of debt securities. In 30 minutes, you will be the majority creditor of Van der Hoeven Holdings." Ryan doesn't smile. There's no joy in it. It's just cleaning. It's removing the trash from the way. Ryan turns to his head of security, Marcus, who is standing in the doorway. Ryan asks, his voice shifting from steel to broken glass, "And her?" Marcus shakes his head, his expression serious. Marcus replies, "The apartment is still empty. The cell phone was last tracked near the Queensboro Bridge, but the signal died. She either turned it off or got rid of it." Ryan feels the panic, that wild animal he's kept chained, scratching at his throat. She's running away. She truly believes he's just like Julian. Ryan closes her eyes for a second, forcing her brain to work through the pain. Where would she go? She has no family. She has no money. She only has a manager. Ryan opens his eyes. Ryan says, "The dog. Track the dog's chip." Marcus frowns. "Mr. Blackwood, the chip is passive. It only works if it's scanned at a shelter or veterinarian." Ryan slams his hand on the table, making the coffee cups tremble. Ryan yells, "Then hack the city's database. Check the traffic cameras. A woman in a ball gown with a golden retriever isn't invisible." Sunlight streams through the arched windows, creating beams of dusty light that cut across the immense hall. It is a place of departures and arrivals, of hope and farewells. Angelina is sitting on a wooden bench in the far corner, near the entrance to platform 23. She is no longer wearing her ball gown. She has changed into an old pair of jeans and an oversized coat she had in her emergency bag, but her face carries the weariness of 100 years. Luna lies at her feet, her head resting on her paws, sensing her owner's sadness. The dog lets out a low whimper. Angelina strokes the golden head, tears streaming down her face silently. Angelina whispers, "I know, girl, I know. But we can't stay. If I stay, I'll see him. And if I see the contempt in his eyes, it will kill me." She looks at the match panel. Train to Poughkeepsie, 10:45. It's far enough. It's cheap enough. She gets her ticket, one way only. Angelina thinks about Ryan. The way he looked at her in the park, the way he defended her at the prom. For a moment, a cruel and beautiful moment, she believed. She believed she could be happy again. But Cinderella's aren't barren. Princesses need to give heirs to the kingdom. It's the old rule. It's the immutable rule. Angelina stands up, tugging at Luna's leash. Let's go. The train is about to leave. She starts walking towards the gate. The crowd is dense. People rushing to work. Tourists taking photos. She's just another face in the crowd. Invisible. Suddenly, the sound in the lobby changes. It's not something you hear. It's something you feel. A wave of silence begins at the main entrance and spreads like a tide. People stop. Heads turn. Angelina stops, her alert instincts kicking in. She looks back over her shoulder. At the entrance to the marble staircase, standing against the sunlight, there he is, Ryan. He looks like he's run a marathon. His hair is disheveled, his face sweaty, his chest rising and falling violently. He's scanning the crowd with a manic desperation. And then he sees her. The world stops. The noise of the station disappears. Only the two of them remain. Ryan doesn't walk. He runs. He descends the marble staircase, skipping steps, ignoring stairs, ignoring dignity, ignoring everything. Angelina feels the urge to run away. The fear of rejection is paralyzing. Angelina steps back, pulling Luna away. Don't come, please, don't come. But he comes. He crosses the lobby like a force of nature, pushing his way through the crowd. He approaches her. He stops a meter away, panting. Ryan says, his voice hoarse, "You were going to leave without saying goodbye." Angelina can't look him in the eye. She stares at the ground, at his expensive shoes, now covered in street dust. Angelina replies, her voice faltering, "It was for the best, for both of us. Julian told you. I know he told me." Ryan steps forward. Ryan says, "He told me." Angelina closes her eyes, anticipating the blow, anticipating the polite parting words. "I'm sorry, Angelina, but I need someone who," Angelina whispers, tears now falling freely. "So you know, I'm a dead end, Ryan. I'm a fraud. I let you fall in love with me knowing I couldn't give you what a man like you needs. I can't give you children. I can't give you a legacy." She sobs, her body trembling. "Go away, Ryan. Go back to your empire. Find someone whole." The silence stretches on for an eternal second. And then Ryan does something that shocks the entire Grand Central Terminal. He kneels down, not to propose marriage, but to be on her level, to bebelow hers. He takes Angelina's cold hands in his. Ryan says, his voice echoing clear and firm in the silence, "Look at me." Angelina shakes her head. Ryan squeezes her hands. "Look at me, Angelina." She opens her tearful eyes. She sees his face. And there is no contempt. There is no pity. There is fury. And there is love. A love so intense it burns. Ryan says, "Do you think I built all that? The buildings, the companies, the money? Do you think I did it because of some hypothetical son who doesn't even exist? Do you think my legacy is my DNA?" He lets go of one of her hands and points to his chest. Ryan continued, his voice breaking, "My legacy is me, Angelina. It's my choices. And the best choice I ever made was to stop at that park bench and share a sandwich with you." Angelina sobs, but the dynasty bears the Blackwood name. Ryan stands up, pulling her close, ignoring the crowd that now watches, fascinated. Ryan declares, loud enough for Julian to hear if he were in hell, "I have empires, Angelina. I can buy cities. I can build monuments that last 1,000 years. But none of that matters if I come home and it's empty." He holds her face, wiping away her tears with his thumbs. Ryan whispers, now only to her, "I don't want heirs if they don't have your eyes. I don't want a future if you're not in it. If we can't have biological children, we'll adopt, we'll steal them, we'll manufacture them in a lab. I don't care. Family isn't blood, Angelina. Family is who stays when the world falls apart. And I'm staying. Angelina stares at him, stunned. The wall of fear she has built over the years is beginning to crumble brick by brick. Angelina asks, her voice trembling, "You don't mind?" Ryan smiles, and it's the most beautiful smile she's ever seen. Ryan replies, "I care about you. I care about Luna. I care that you fix my event maps and make me eat on park benches and make me feel alive. The rest is just noise." He puts his hand in his pocket. There's no ring. He hasn't had time to buy one, but he looks at her hand, at the finger where Julian's ring used to be. Ryan takes off his wristwatch, $100,000 Patek Philippe. He unbuttons it. Ryan says, "I don't have a ring right now. I left in a hurry. But this," he wraps the watch around her slender wrist, tightening the bracelet to the last hole. "This marks the time. And I want all my time with you. From now on." He holds her hand with the enormous watch hanging from it. Ryan asks, "Angelina Clark, will you accept the lifetime position of being the only real thing in my life? Will you marry me and help me spend the fortune I just used to destroy your ex-fiancé?" Angelina laughs, a wet, choked laugh, but full of light. Angelina says, "Did you destroy Julian?" Ryan shrugs. "I bought his debt. He's technically been bankrupt since 10mm. Consider it an engagement gift." Angelina throws herself into his arms. She kisses him right there in the middle of Grand Central, with Luna barking and jumping around them, and the crowd erupting in spontaneous applause. It's not a movie kiss. It's a kiss of survival, between two people who were drowning and found the surface. Ryan pulls her close, burying his face in her neck. Ryan whispers, "Let's go home." Angelina smiles against his shoulder. Angelina replies, "We already are. It's not a wedding. It's the coronation of a new queen." The castle lawn is covered by a sea of white chairs and flowers that cost more than Angelina's old apartment. New York's elite are present, not because they were invited out of friendship, but because I needed see. In the front rows, the socialites who turned their backs on Angelina months ago are now whispering, hiding their envy behind silk fans. Socialite 1 whispers, "Did you see the dress? It's a custom Vera Wang. They say Ryan personally had the silk sourced from Italy." Socialite 2 replies, sourly, "Rookie luck. Let's see how long that lasts. He'll get tired when he realizes he won't have any heirs." The music changes, the murmur dies down. At the altar, Ryan waits. He doesn't look like a ruthless CEO today. He looks like a man who just won the lottery. His eyes are fixed on the beginning of the aisle. But it's not the bride who enters. It's Luna. A golden retriever walks with surprising dignity, wearing a collar of white flowers and carrying a small velvet cushion strapped to her back containing the wedding rings. She stops midway, wags her tail for a photographer, and lets out a happy bark, eliciting laughter from the serious crowd. Ryan smiles. "That's my girl." And then Angelina appears. The world stops. She's not the sad woman from the doctor's office. She's not the fugitive from Grand Central. She is pure light. The dress hugs her curves with elegance, but it's the sparkle in her eyes that outshines the diamonds around her neck. She walks over to Ryan. When he takes her hand, the microphone picks up his whisper. Ryan whispers, "You're late. I almost had a heart attack." Angelina smiles. "I was trying to convince Luna not to eat the rings." The ceremony is beautiful, full of promises of honor and loyalty. When the judge declares them husband and wife, the kiss is so passionate it instantly becomes magazine cover material. The party was dazzling, everything was perfect, and Angelina's angelic smile lit up the hall. Ryan's family, who had just met the bride, were enchanted by her elegance and kindness. She shone. The next day, they left for a long honeymoon trip. The villa in Tuscany is a golden dream perched atop a hill. There are no visible security guards, no press, just them. Angelina is seated at the head of a table set on the terrace. She wears a white silk robe that slips off her shoulders, her skin glistening in the Mediterranean sun. Ryan isn't sitting, he's serving. The CEO who commands empires is now pouring Chianti wine into her glass with the dedication of a passionate sommelier. Ryan kisses her bare shoulder. The chef suggested the truffle risotto, but I told him my wife prefers something more substantial. He places a plate of fresh pasta in front of her. Angelina closes her eyes, inhaling the aroma. Ryan, you rented the entire villa. You brought in a Michelin-starred chef, and now you're serving me like royalty. I could get spoiled. Ryan sits down next to her, not at the other end. He pulls his chair closer, his hand finding her thigh under the table. Ryan whispers, his warm breath on her ear, "You're royalty, Angelina. I'm just the lucky consort who got the ring." He feeds her a piece of bread dipped in olive oil. The gesture is intimate, almost devotional. Angelina chews, smiling, but then sighs, gazing at the horizon. Ryan notices the immediate change. "What was that? Is the wine warm?" Angelina laughs, shaking her head. "No. It's just that cloud over there. It looks like Luna's tail." Ryan lets out a loud laugh, throwing his head back. Ryan picks up his phone. "I knew it. We're in the most romantic place on earth, and you're missing the furry terrorist." He shows the screen. It's a video the dog sitter sent. Luna is sleeping in a king-size bed at the plaza, wearing a sleep mask, probably the sitter's idea. Angelina picks up her phone, melting. "Look at her, Ryan. She seems so bored without us." Ryan takes the phone from her hand and puts it away, face down. Ryan says, his voice hoarse, "She's fine. She's living like a queen in New York. Now let me deal with the queen standing before me." He stands up and extends his hand. Angelina accepts. He picks her up, ignoring dinner, and walks towards the bedroom with the balcony doors open. The Eiffel Tower shines in the distance, but they aren't looking. The room is lit only by city lights and a few candles. Shopping bags from Chanel, Dior, and Hermes are scattered across the floor like trophies from a luxury scavenger hunt that Ryan insisted on undertaking. They are in bed. Egyptian cotton sheets rumpled. Angelina is lying on Ryan's chest, tracing the muscles of his abdomen with her fingertips. They are only partially covered by the sheet. It's a moment of raw, sweet intimacy. Angelina whispers, "I never thought it could be like this. Light. Fearless." Ryan kisses the top of her head. "Fear died in New York, Mrs. Blackwood. Here, there's only this, us." He rolls over, ending up on top of her, supporting himself on his elbows to avoid putting weight on her. He looks at her as if she were the most valuable work of art he has ever acquired. Ryan says, "I could stay here forever. Just the two of us, without the world." Angelina smiled, running her hands along his neck, pulling him down. Angelina teases, "And without Luna?" Ryan laughs against her mouth. "Okay, maybe we'll send a private jet to pick Luna up tomorrow. But for tonight..." He kisses her. A slow, deep, possessive kiss that promises a whole night of adoration. Ryan murmurs against her lips, "Tonight, I want to enjoy every inch of my wife." The camera focuses on their hands intertwined on the pillow, their wedding rings gleaming in the dim light before fading out in an elegant shot. In New York, Julian's apartment is dark, the curtains drawn against the afternoon sun. The mahogany desk, once immaculate, is covered with collection letters and legal documents. On the enormous TV screen, the image of Ryan and Angelina kissing is broadcast live. The caption reads, "The wedding of the year, the King of Wall Street and his Cinderella." Julian stares at the screen. He looks 10 years older, The arrogance is gone, replaced by a toxic bitterness. Julian murmurs to the TV, his voice slurred with alcohol. "Enjoy it, Ryan. Enjoy the show. In a few years, the silence of that enormous house will drive you crazy. No children, no future, just her." He throws the glass against the wall. The glass shatters, but the image of their happiness continues to shine on the screen, untouched. Angelina is lying on the stretcher. She woke up from a sudden fainting spell. Ryan rushed her to the hospital. She's waking up still pale and squeezing Ryan's hand so hard that his fingers are white. Angelina says, her voice trembling, "I've been feeling unwell, tired and dizzy. Ryan, what if it's something serious? What if it's stress or something worse?" Ryan kisses her forehead. "Hey, breathe. We have the best doctors in the world. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Remember, in sickness and in health. The doctor, a kind, grey-haired gentleman, is going to perform a full abdominal ultrasound to investigate the persistent stomach discomfort. He frowns as he looks at the monitor. The doctor murmurs, interesting." Angelina's heart stops. Interesting. It's never good. Angelina asks, "What is it, doctor? Is it a tumor?" The doctor starts to laugh. A loud, happy laugh. The doctor says, "My dear, if it is a tumor, it's the most active tumor I've ever seen. And it has 3 heads. Ryan and Angelina exchanged confused glances. Ryan asks, "What do you mean?" The doctor turns the monitor towards them. On the grainy screen, there are 3 small pulsating shapes, 3 hearts beating in a frantic, perfect rhythm. The doctor points, "One here, another one here, and the 3rd one hidden back here. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Blackwood. They're triplets. That's very rare. I've only seen it twice myself." The silence in the room is absolute. Angelina brings her hands to her mouth. Tears begin to fall, but they are not tears of sadness. They are tears of pure shock. Angelina stammers, "But they told me it was impossible. They said I couldn't have children. I have a detailed infertility report. How is that possible?" The doctor smiles, wiping the gel from her belly. "Medicine explains a lot, Angelina, but sometimes life finds a way where science says there is no road. We call that a miracle, or perhaps just the right environment, the right love." Ryan is staring at the screen, paralyzed. The man who controlled empires is openly crying. Ryan whispers, "Oh my God, 3!" He looks at Angelina, his eyes gleaming with that fierce adoration. Ryan says, "I said I didn't care, but my God, 3!" He hugs her, burying his face in her neck, laughing and crying at the same time. It's the image of absolute joy. Julian is in a much smaller office now. He works as a junior consultant at a 2nd-tier firm. Van der Hoeven Holdings no longer exists. He picks up the newspaper, the New York Times. He tries to avoid the gossip columns, but the headline is too big to ignore. It takes up half the front page. The photo shows Ryan and Angelina leaving the doctor's office, beaming, holding an ultrasound image. The headline screams, "The Blackwood Miracle, Triplets on the Way." Julian reads the fine print. The couple celebrates a natural multiple pregnancy. Experts call it a medical miracle. Julian drops the newspaper as if it were on fire. He slumps into his chair. The weight of the truth crushes him. It wasn't her. It never was her. Maybe it was him. Or maybe it was his coldness, his venom. He remembers the phrase he said to her, "You are a zero-return investment." Now he sees the return, the greatest return possible, and she's in the arms of another man, the man who valued her when she was broken. Julian puts his hands to his face, and for the first time in years, in the silence of his mediocre office, he tastes the bitter and definitive taste of defeat. 1 year later, Ryan and Angelina are walking through the park, the same park where they met. Ryan pushes a huge triple stroller, maneuvering with the skill of a Formula One driver. Angelina walks alongside, radiant, holding Luna's leash. People stop to stare, not just because of their fame, but because of the aura of happiness that surrounds them. Ryan for non-bank. That one bank. Ryan says, "You know, I was thinking." Angelina smiles, adjusting the blanket of one of the babies. "Perigoso, what happened?" Ryan looks at his 3 sleeping children and then at her. Ryan replies, "That day, when you said it was complicated, that it was broken." Angelina rests her head on his shoulder. Ryan kisses the top of her head. "You were wrong. You weren't broken, Angelina. You were just waiting for the right piece to complete the puzzle." Luna barks in agreement and licks the hand of one of the babies, who smiles in his sleep. Angelina looks at her family, her husband who loves her, her children who are a miracle, the dog that started it all. Angelina says, "Yes, you are my perfect match, the one who completed me." "But who detected you in this vast world?" Ryan smiled, intertwining his fingers with hers. Ryan concludes, "It's a golden." Always a golden. Tell me here in the comments where you are listening to me from. Subscribe to the channel. Activate the bell for new stories.